the beautiful, the talented, coming all the way from Cairns, Australia, Pamela O'Leary. She's here to tell us today about her book.
Who the fuck am I?
You forgot, didn't you?
Yeah. What's it?
That was her cue. Oh, my bad. It's practice. It's rehearsed.
So it's all about sub-personalities today, and who the fuck are you? Because I know who I am most of the time. So I've got some questions. Who actually, and there's no right or wrong. Oh, I can't go over that invisible line, so I'll walk along here. Who has voices in their head? Yeah. Who has lovely conversations and they get really good responses most of the time? You don't have any voices in your head? Oh, you do? You do? I miss that.
It's not very nice, though. It's not very nice.
Oh, okay.
I call myself a dickhead. Like you dickhead.
Oh, you have to turn that around, won't you? Yeah. Constant chatter. Who can't sleep at night because of the constant chatter sometimes? Oh, I know. What if I told you they could be sub-personalities and that you could actually talk to them and stop some of that chatter, especially the ones that are negative? This technique will help you become friends with yourself on a whole new level, sub-personalities. So who's a hypnotherapist? Yeah, most of you. Or you work with people, yeah. With this technique, we don't use any hypnosis whatsoever. So anyone and everyone can use it. So I teach my clients so that they can go away and work on themselves without having to come to me all the time. So we don't need regression at all. We don't do timeline. We don't do parts integration, even though sometimes I may refer to a sub-personality as a part. Oh, it's a part of me, but it's not parts integration. So no hypnosis is needed at all. That's because our sub-personalities live in the here and now. They're real. They're with us. They'll always be with us. Sorry? Oh, I thought someone was saying something. Yeah.
That was my sub-personality.
It was. Look, my sub-personality helped me write the books. And some of them can't spell. And it's not me, it was them. So this weekend I want you all to have fun. Hopefully you'll consider writing a little list of some of your sub-personalities. And the dinner party, well, you know when you learn something new and you want to use it all the time. I share everything with my husband, and we used to go to dinner parties, and when we knew what sub-personalities were all about, and that's when people are triggered, we used to just watch people. And I mean, now's the perfect time. Look at politics and look how a normally quiet person will suddenly go, yeah! And you go, fuck, they're triggered. Look at that. We'll go home and go, did you see that sub-personality pop out? I've never seen that before. Oh my God. Come on in, Terry. I think Terry might have a sub-personality, a time sub-personality. Yes. Just to draw attention to you, sorry about that. So my sub-personalities, I have many. We've all got many of them. So some of mine, international presenter, I'm a business partner, a parent, wife, list writer. Who's a list writer? Oh, yes. I've got stories about my list writer. I'm also known as Polly, as some of you call me already, a spiritual advisor and tarot reader. They're just some of my sub-personalities. We have so many of them, but we don't need them all the time. So let's go deeper. What else can our sub-personalities be? I'm very sceptical, sometimes. So sometimes I've got to have scientific proof. Got to know. Sometimes I can be judgmental. I can be overwhelmed, moody, happy, sad, excited like I am today, right now. Scared, joyful, confident. It's like they're roles that they play out. So they come and they go. There's so many more of them, but that's how you get deeper. You actually look at them and go, yep, that sceptical part pops out too much, got to deal with that one. And you're looking at one of the strongest ones, me now, because I'm not really, I'm not an extrovert, although some people think I am. I'm actually an introvert, so this is one of my strongest sub-personalities. And I had to actually talk to her, it's a female, I had to actually talk to her. Normally I wouldn't, but when I get excited, the presenter in me, Connie and I were talking about this, I talk very fast. I talk and I move very fast. And then half an hour, I finish the talk, and it's like, I've still got half an hour to go, 40 minutes, yeah, it's like. So I had to talk and come up with a win-win solution that I can present very easily, I can be relaxed, breathe, and finish on time. You happy with that, presenter? Yes. Am I happy with that? Absolutely. So even some of the positive, happy ones you may have to work with occasionally. There are sometimes subtle differences between our subpersonalities and sometimes not. So, for example, the way that I talk to maybe the butcher is very, very different to how I talk to my husband. I even lower my voice when I talk to my husband. That's a big difference, really. Very big. So sometimes there are differences. Some there aren't. Like my list writer and time, is that gone funny? Oh, my ear's blocked. My time management, they're very, very similar. Very, very similar. But yeah, there can be massive big differences between subpersonalities, as sometimes we see when we're triggered or we watch someone else who's been triggered. So my story, how I got into subpersonalities. Has anyone heard of psychosynthesis? Okay, psychosynthesis is known as psychology with a soul. It's very deep work, and I studied it for 12 months. They do subpersonalities, but on a very, very deep level. I loved it. I learned a lot about myself during that 12 months. But what I wanted to do was share it with other people. So during the years, I actually was able to change it around until I've come up with this. It's 6 questions, which we'll go through a bit later on. So it makes it easier. Anyone can use it. You don't have to be a hypnotherapist or counsellor or therapist. It's just so easy. Yes, so hello introvert. So we're learning, you know, and you know when you learn something, you get in pairs and you practice. So I was doing that, and I was working on the introvert because I didn't like being an introvert, okay? So I'd work with a partner, would work out her subpersonality. My introvert would not budge, would not do anything, wouldn't answer any of the questions. So we'd swap partners, we'd work with the other person that was working out, work on my introvert. No, nothing happened. So the trainer, there were 2 trainers, and one of them came up to me. She said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on the introvert. I don't want to be an introvert." And she said, "Okay." I said, "I want to be an extrovert like everyone else." And she just laughed at me, which triggered me. We worked on those. And she said, "If you look around the room," she said, "what you're seeing is a whole lot of different subpersonalities." She said, "Not everyone in this room is an extrovert." I was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." So she said, "Let's work on it." So I worked with her, and I learnt to acknowledge the introvert within myself. I learnt to embrace that part of me. It's one of my strengths. I gave myself permission to be that introvert and to embrace the true essence of who I am, which is that little introvert. So what you're seeing now and what you see out there are just wonderful, helpful subpersonalities. So how do we discover our subpersonalities? Through triggers. Through a change in our behaviour or mood, who we're with, where we are, what's going on. They're all triggers. And you work with them one at a time. I'll just go back to triggers because that's very interesting, because the triggers is more than just that. We can be triggered with like lovely smells, and it takes us back to our childhood. Through a touch of fabric, could take us back to our favourite little frock when we were a little kid. It can be music. If I hear the Beatles, it takes me back to, I lived in Adelaide, it takes me back to the 60s, living in Adelaide, and the Beatles, when the Beatles came to Adelaide. So there's lots of different positive triggers, but there's also the negative triggers, which are the ones that we need to work with. We make friends with them. We need to find, it's like a new client, really, and we like to become friends with our clients. We need to find out where they're at, what they're good at, what's happening in their life that's brought them here, what is their role in our life. They all have a specific role in our life. and what happens when their role is disturbed or changed. And that's what brings our clients to us as well. So very easily we close our eyes, and for example, if we're working on the list writer, we close our eyes, you get clarity, who am I talking to? Make sure you know who you're talking to. We observe them. We watch them as we would our clients. Now, with subpersonalities, they could be anything. They could be visual, symbol, sound, emotion, a colour, a vibration. It doesn't matter. Whatever you see when you close your eyes is the right one at that point in time. Some of the shapes do change. As they are changing, their shape can change as well. And then we simply say, are you ready to work with me today? There's two answers. If they say no, you just say, well, thank you for your time. I look forward to working with you in the near future. Set it up. Yeah. Or they say yes, it's like, beautiful. Beautiful. Let's work. Be patient when you're doing this work. It could be the first time that they've had a voice. It could be the first time that they've actually come out of a very deep and dark place. It always reminds me, I've done a lot of work with a lot of older men, especially after retirement. And sometimes the first session, I will just let them talk, because for some of them, it's the first time they've actually had a voice and been able to talk. So I just listen to them. And that's what we have to do with our subpersonalities. And that way we're also building rapport. As much as you think it's, it's silly because you're working with something within you, it's still rapport. So the questions, there are 6 questions. Always clarify, who am I talking to? Just checking that you're working with. And if another one pops in, like I wanted to work with the list writer and say time management pops in, it's like, okay, obviously they're pretty impatient. Let's work with the timekeeper, not a problem. But always find out who you're talking to. I always have a pencil and paper in my hand so that you can open your eyes at any time and write down the answers. So who am I talking to? Get that clarity. What are your strengths? I never say, what are your strengths? I always say, what are you good at? This is where we find out how they've been helping us and what they are really, really good at. And we need to find that out. Again, you don't say weaknesses. What's going on in your life at this point in time? And that's when you find out exactly what is going on. If they've been triggered, how they've been triggered. Always listen to them. This is where we can build up their confidence if needed, which is an example I'll give you a bit later on. What do you want? We all have wants and needs. They have special wants and needs. Something specific to you. What is it? Again, listen to them. What are your needs? We all have needs and they change. Our needs change, and so therefore our subpersonality needs will change as well. How can I help you, but also how can you serve the whole of me? Listen carefully, because this is when you go into that conversation that leads to a win-win outcome. And you've always got to have that win-win outcome. So you talk to them as you would your clients. Are you happy with today's session? I am. Oh, well, you'd make sure they said yes, of course. Yeah. I've got a very strong joker subpersonality, and I'm trying to hold that one back because it may not be appropriate to make too many jokes as I'm doing the presentation. Or maybe it might be. Yeah, let it out. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh dear. So they're the 6 simple yet complicated questions. And like I said, you've got to listen very, very carefully. They have the answers. Our clients quite often will have all the answers. They know what they want or need. They really, really do. So that's why it's not for us to, we leave our egos outside the door and go in and listen to them. Only very, very occasionally have I ever had to suggest something to one of my subpersonalities or one of my clients' subpersonalities. Apart from that, they do know. When you have that win-win, that's when you can thank them and you can open your eyes. And that takes you out of trance, obviously. Be patient with them and remember they have all the answers and the strategies, and that's what they want. Like our clients, they want strategies for the here and now and for the future. Who actually uses, just going back to the beginning, who actually uses regression now? Do people still use? No. Oh, some of you do. Timeline? Yeah, timeline. Yeah. Parts integration?
Yeah.
All over, yeah. Well, you don't, obviously you don't have to with this. Oh, hang on. Val on the bridge. I used to live in Brisbane. So if you don't know Brisbane, you've got the Sunshine Coast, North Brisbane, the river, South Brisbane and the Gold Coast. That's basically how it is. Anyway, I worked in the south part and I had a client who lived in the sunny coast, and she lived in it was when she moved there, a beautiful little village. And so she used to come down to once a fortnight, because I specialise in intermittent fasting and weight loss, and so she'd come down once a fortnight to see me, to catch up with her girlfriends and to do what jobs she needs to do. Anyway, everything's going really, really well. And one day she came in and she just threw herself on the chair. I said, "What's going on?" She said, "I had a panic attack." I went, "Oh, when?" She said, "Going over the Story Bridge." Takes you from north to south. Going over the Story Bridge. I went, "Really?" She said, "Yeah, the last few weeks I've had panic attacks. I get to the bridge and I panic." And I said, "Are there any other bridges that you cross up where you live?" And she said, "Oh yeah, there's plenty of little bridges." She said, "No, I don't panic." She said, "It's the Story Bridge." I went, "Okay." So for those of you who don't know, I do a lot of tapping, a lot of EFT, and faster EFT. So I said, well, let's do some tapping. So we spent the session tapping. We did forward pacing, the next fortnight coming, driving over the bridge. Yeah, she's nice and relaxed. Good, job well done. She went off, came back the following fortnight. Oh my God, I said, "What happened?" She said, I had another panic attack. And then she said straight away, "It's like there's a part of me." And as soon as she said there's a part of me, I went, that's a subpersonality. So it was wonderful. It sort of, So I explained subpersonalities to her. And I said, do you want to do some work? She said, yes. So we pulled up all the little subpersonalities that were playing up. And it ended up that when she moved to the sunny coast 20 years ago, it was a small village. It was beautiful. The traffic, they'd be able to walk across the road and just go, yeah, oops, I'll walk this way. Yeah. Everyone would know each other, everyone would wave to each other. In that 20 years, it became so popular and it was heavily populated. It grew. So there was a part of her that was panicking, and the only way it could get Val's attention was to cause a panic attack. It had nothing about the driving, but was the only way that the subpersonality would say, "Hey, I'm choking here. What's going on?" The win-win, there were two win-wins for her. One, when she came to Brisbane, it was about crossing the road actually, because she could no longer, the village was so big, she could no longer just walk across the road and wave to people. And they had traffic lights in the little town. And then she told me that in actual fact, it used to freak her out when she was in Brisbane because the high traffic, and she'd just run like hell to get to the medium strip and then run like hell to get the other side. So the win-win was simply when she was in Brisbane, she would go to the nearest traffic lights, and if anyone knows Brisbane, there are traffic lights everywhere in Brisbane. You turn a corner, there's 3 more. So she'd just walk up to the closest traffic lights, cross the road there. At home, she would do what we were taught at school. If you were taught at school, look to the right, look to the left, look to the right again. If it's clear, walk across the road. If she was near the traffic lights in her town, then she would use them, but they were right down the other end. So it was a win-win for her in her little, now bigger town, also a win-win for her in the city. So quite simple really when you think about it, but it had nothing to do with driving and driving over the Story Bridge. So some prominent subpersonalities, and I know you've heard of all these: the saboteur, the perfectionist, The victim, and there's a few different types of victims. The critic. And imposter syndrome. Okay, that's my little TAFE story. I had a clusterfuck. We can get clusterfucks. That's when there's more than one voice in your head at the same time and it drives you crazy. You know, busy head? Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, they're having a party. They certainly are having a party. So, many moons ago, I was a TAFE lecturer, and it was contract work to start off with, and it was in Adelaide. It was a special unit, the Women at Work unit, so I only worked with managers, female managers and supervisors, and teaching them life skills and assertiveness. The curriculum was fantastic. Someone else wrote it for me, and the first few sessions went well. Different group, they extended my contract. I'm feeling really good about myself. One time I looked at a woman and she had a miserable face, and straight away, just like that, I went, oh my God, it's the curriculum. I'm not doing a good job. Yes, it's like, boy, was I judging myself. And then, because you see, I don't have any qualifications. I didn't have a teaching background. It's just that when I have interviews, I've got a really good, strong sub-personality who takes over and answers the questions, talk about myself. You know, she's really cool. And she gets me jobs. You know, it's really good. Oh, dear. You've all probably got, all of you, I hope you're all thinking about your own sub-personalities. Yeah. So I was judging this woman. And so I was taking this perfect curriculum home, rewriting it. I didn't know what I was doing, really. Taking it back. I didn't, because no teaching background. And this went on for a couple of weeks. I got in the car one day, and you know those little yellow sticker things, those, you know, you stick it on, signed, you know. I tried to stick it on my husband's car, and of course it doesn't stick, it just fell down. He said, what are you doing, darling? I went, oh, just another little list. I had to write a little list. And he went, no. We got home that night, and he said, and he took my hand gently, and he said, have a look at this, darling. He took me through every room. There were lists everywhere, all different size lids. They were stuck on mirrors, back of the toilet door, in the bedroom, on the bed head as well. My list writer was totally out of control. Oh, it was shocking. And he said, not only that, if you don't know Adelaide, there's a beautiful beach called Glenelg, and we used to go there quite regularly. And he said, you didn't want to go to Glenelg Beach with me and see a movie? It's like, no, I'm too serious, I've got to do this, I've got to rewrite the whole thing. And I had the habit of, I'd get home, change my shoes, call out, hi darling, and go for a walk, de-stress, come home, change my shoes, go down to the kitchen, kissy, have a cup of tea. I'd stop doing that as well, because all I wanted to do was get home and rewrite the training manual, which was a perfect training manual. And I kept watching this woman as well, and she wasn't happy. And so I kept judging myself. So David, who I share all my information with, he said, do you want to work on what's going on? I went, yes, thanks, darling. So we brought up the list writer first. She's one of my favourites. I really like that, and a lot of you can relate because you write lists. Okay. Our win-win was, she said to me, only one list a day. And I'm panicking. I'm thinking, one list a day. She said, only one list a day. That's all you can do. I went, oh, okay. And then she said, no more than 7 items on your list. I went, what? I know. And I don't know to this day, I still don't know how she came up with the number 7. But 7 things. So when I'm writing a list, it's like I get up to 6, I get up to 7. But she was protecting me. It's like she didn't want me, to fail. So 7 things. I mean, I can, 2 or 3 things is fine, but no more than 7. Otherwise, I'm setting myself up to fail for that day. So the funny thing is, what we did then, we still do. So every Friday night, I write a menu plan, then I do a shopping list. And then we do the shopping on a Saturday morning. Now, we've come up with a lovely win-win for the shopping list. They're essentials, so I can have I can write down as many items. I can go over 7. And that part of me, the shopping lister, she's fine because we need food. So that was my win-win. Now, judgment, I was judging myself, so I had to bring judgment out. Judgment is with me all the time. I'm being honest here, I can be a bit judgmental. Shopping centres, I'll look into people's trolleys and I'll go... But then I've got this little voice saying, if they want you, they'll find you. And then it's like, crap, I'm being judgmental. I'm judging people by what's in their trolleys. It's pretty scary. No, stop looking. Oh, God. We worked on the panic side, the exercise. We did all of that and came up with wonderful win-wins. So that clusterfuck turned out to be there because it was triggered, because really I was doing that, and I've never had, and we didn't have a word, this is going back 40 years, we didn't have the word imposter syndrome back there, or if we did, I've never heard of it. But yeah, that was the only time, the first only time I've ever suffered from imposter syndrome. Triggers can be very, very personal. They could be from other people. They could be a feeling of rejection that triggers us, betrayal, being criticised, feeling unloved. It could be a voice, it could be just a smell. I had another client in Brisbane, and she was losing weight, everything was going well, and she came in one Monday I think it was, and I said, you don't look very happy. She said, I'm not. I said, why? Is everything going okay? She said, yeah. She said, I had lunch with my mum and dad yesterday. She said, we do it, once a fortnight. And I said, oh, that's really lovely. It was her and her brother and their partners and their kids. I said, that's a lovely tradition. And she said, it is. She said, but as soon as I walk in the front door, she says, Mum's down in the kitchen, and she yells out, don't slam the front door. And she said, straight away, I feel like a 15-year-old kid. And she said, I hate feeling like a 15-year-old kid, no control whatsoever. I went, would you like to work on that 15-year-old kid and build up her confidence? She said, yes, absolutely. So we did. We worked on that 15-year-old kid. She loved it. She loved it. And she was able to protect herself and build up her confidence so that when she walked in, her mum could say whatever she likes, and my client was fine. But we actually took this story goes on a little bit more. She said to me, I love my mum, she's really good, she's a great mum, gives great advice. She said, but I got to the stage, because she was in her late 30s, she had 2 daughters of her own, and she said, I just want to be friends with my mum. I don't want her to be in that role all the time, because I explained that her mother was actually, that was a very, very strong subpersonality that her mum was so used to being in with. So I said, well, you want to be friends with your mum? So we came up with some strategies. And I let it go. Anyway, when I saw her again, I said, so how are you going? She said, oh, really good. She said, I rang up my mum and I said, Mum, let's have coffee on Wednesday. She said, well, are you dying of cancer? And my client, really strong subpersonality here we're working with. She said, no, Mum. She said, the kid's okay. The kids are fine. Are you getting a divorce? And she said, no, I just want to meet with you on Wednesday and have a cup of coffee. Oh, we can do that after lunch on Sunday. And my client said, no, Mum, I really want to go and meet you at a cafe. So her mum turned up. She was really very hesitant about the whole thing. They sat down, they started talking. She said the old speech, you've been a really terrific mum to me. It's like, yeah, I know. Oh, you're going to divorce me. No. She said, really good advice. She said, I just want to be friends with you. She said, I've seen you with some of your friends, and she said, I just want to be friends now. You'll always be my mum. I'll always go to you. I just want to be friends. Her mum didn't like it. So she got up and, they finished their coffee. So the next Sunday, her mum was very, very quiet towards her. A few weeks later, apparently, her mum rang up and she said, do you want to have coffee on Friday with the girls? And because my client went, yes. So when she went in, she didn't just say, this is my daughter Sally. She just said, oh, Sally's joining us for coffee. And so Sally felt really good. And so she said, from then on, her relationship with her mum. She was still tight with her mum, but she said it was wonderful because her mum she saw very differently. Her mum was very light-hearted. She joked, she carried on, and that's what she wanted. It was so good that after that, my client actually explained to her about subpersonalities. So the next training workshop that I ran, both of them came along. They loved it. Oops, almost tripping over. Oh yeah. Who says I can leave my job behind? Who takes their job home with them? It's a role. They're all roles we play. We don't have to take it home with us. That's a strong subpersonality if you've got to take it. Look what I did with the clusterfuck. I took that home with me. Yeah. So if you're a person who takes their work or their job home with them, here's an opportunity to, if you don't want to, here's an opportunity using the 6 questions to leave that job, your role, everything behind until you go back the next day. God, we do a lot of shit to ourselves, don't we, sometimes? Who says things like, I had to pull that one out of my hat quickly? Yes, or out of your head. Have to put on big girl pants. Yep. Oh, I had to call upon my inner strength. And it was the joker in me that said that, not me, it was the joker. See, we can call upon our subpersonalities when we need them. They're always there with us. Mine are lined up, I've got mine alongside. And sometimes you forget about some of your subpersonalities because they're happy. They're doing the job that they're meant to do. But some of them, like my judgment, is pretty much always there. So they're just roles that we can call upon at any time and they will help us. Yeah. You're always waiting, always available, always. And it's very simple. As you go through and you get used to this technique, you don't always have to go through the whole six steps. Like with my judgment, we don't go through the questions and answers. It's very much, it's a male. He's tall, he's slim, he wears a 3-piece suit, and I think he would rather be a lawyer than judgment, but that's what I see when I close my eyes. So he's always there. So how do our subs work in every day? They change. As we change, our moods change, our subpersonalities change as well. Depends where we are, who we're with, and what's going on. So they change throughout the day. So when you see a moody person next time, you could be looking at one of their really strong subpersonalities, maybe. So, maybe go easy on them, or maybe not. Sorry? Well, it's a bit like, you got the bitch from hell in the office, or your supervisor. I bet they're not like that 24/7. Well, some of them might be. I mean, the saboteur, I bet she's not a saboteur, she or he isn't when they get home, putting Netflix on, having a good time. Or, even victims are, quite often I find victims are victims, but, a lot of them are 24/7. But some of those stronger subpersonalities, they're not like that all the time. We're not like that all the time. Inner conflict, yes. Sometimes our subpersonalities actually are in conflict with each other. Has anyone seen or heard of the movie, they've just brought out the second one, Inside Out? They're subpersonalities. You get it? Yeah, they're all subpersonalities. Look, it's a kids' animated film, both of them, films. And if you haven't seen it, please go and see one or two or both of them. They explain this little girl and all her subpersonalities. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But sometimes if they're in conflict with each other, you sit them down and you get them to talk until they come up with a win-win situation. Don't ever compromise, because it'll come back and bite you in the bum. Oh, Sharon, that's a bit of conflict. So Sharon came to see me. She had the inner conflict of shame, self-disgust, trust issues. The professional versus school girl. She actually, it's in my book, she actually called herself a slag. It's like, whew, it's a bit harsh, but that's how she saw herself. So when growing up, she was a bit of a party girl, and then, whoops, when she went, it's a subpersonality made me do that. Wasn't me. Was the joker. When she went to uni for 4 years, she really partied. Really partied. And she had lots of friends with benefits. I love that term. And so she got into the corporate field. She got a degree and she got into the corporate field, and she was doing really well climbing the ladder. But she said to me that she was lonely because she didn't have any friends. And she never had, or she had a few friends, but she'd never socialised, especially she would not socialise with the people she worked with, which is a shame because she said they're really nice people. And so I said, okay, let's bring out. So she was up against all these things. It was a constant conflict within herself. So we worked with them, with the subpersonalities, and she came up with a win-win. So she'd start with just coffee with some of the girls in the office, and then when she felt strong enough, she socialised with them. And for her solution was that she didn't have to, or she realised she didn't have to drink alcohol when she went out to socialise. She could have a lemon, lime and bitters, or a Coke or a lemonade, and she could relax. She could socialise and get to know the people that she worked with, and she didn't have to go home and feel embarrassed about her behaviour. So that's about a lot of inner conflict. They want to feel safe and protected and free. They want to be listened to without judgment. They want to be respected and valued. They want to give and receive love. They need to feel that they belong. They want to play a positive ongoing role in our life. Just like a normal person, really, and a friendship. That's why this subpersonality work can take you on to a really different level of understanding for yourself. Oops. So we talked too fast. I got so excited talking to all of you. So no regression needed. So anyone can use this technique. They live in the here and now. You know, it's really quite funny because I've worked with hypnotherapists and I've trained them, and I know I did it as well. Being a smart ass, I thought, oh, I'm going to hypnotise my subpersonalities. They won't. They refuse to. It's like, no, they just won't. Can't do parts integration. No, that's in the past. Let's go back to the first time. It's like, no, they won't. No, it's like some of our clients. They don't want or need regression. They're there for strategies for the here and now. Talk to them one at a time. So if, for example, there's a whole lot of them, like a clusterfuck that I call, I have I close my eyes, I have a boardroom table. I invite them all to sit there. There's curtains, because some of them hide behind the curtains. Some of them I know are outside the door. So I invite them all to sit down and let them all chatter among themselves. And then when it's, quieter, I'll ask, who wants to talk to me first? And if they still go clack, 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 it's like, no, just one at a time. And if they won't shut up, I'll just say thank you for your time, but it's not the right time for me, and open my eyes. You go back down, you close your eyes again, you'll find the group's changed. People won't be hiding. There'll be less around the table, and they're all willing to talk one at a time. They have the answers and always have the win-win situation. We've got plenty of time. I used to hate shopping for clothes. And so I worked with my shopping subpersonality probably about 20 years ago. And I thought we had a good win-win. Go shopping with someone else. Now, I've been with my husband for 40 years and he knows my body type, he knows what clothes I wear. So we would get to, this is in Cairns, we get to a shopping centre and I'd be walking with, we'll still walk hand in hand. We get to Myer and oh my God, I hate Myer, hate big department stores. So he'd have to sort of pull me. It's like, oh fuck. He'd go through the racks, because I can't be bothered going through the racks at all. He'd pull out some really nice clothes, or we'd go to see my favourite designer. She'd put out some clothes. I'd go, I'd try them on. Oh, God, I hated it. I really, really hated looking. Shoes as well, hated it. But we'd come out and I'd have my bag, and as soon as I walked out of the big department store, it was like, I'm fine. Got my bag of shopping. I can show off. It wasn't until 4.5, 5 years ago that just before I was doing this talk at the other Helen's. Yeah. A few days before I was going away, my husband said to me, let's go up to Kuranda. Kuranda, if you don't know Cairns, is in the hills. It's a beautiful little village. It's really lovely. He said, let's go for a drive up there. I went, yeah. And we're walking along, hand in hand, and we walked past a boutique that I've passed, so many times. And he said, do you want to go in there and have a look? And I just looked at their display and I went, I do. So we went in there, David went and sat down. I went through, I bought a whole lot of things, and it was really nice. And I walked out and I said, I could go in that shop again. He went, So when we got home, he said, okay, what was so different about the shop? I said, what do you mean? He said, let's work on that, because he said, normally you hate shopping. So we pulled up the shopping, the shopper sub-personality. She hated big department stores because she didn't like the lighting, the racks, there were too many things on the racks. You'd either couldn't find someone to help you, or they were just throwing things your way virtually. This boutique was smaller. The lighting was fabulous. It had really nice music. And the woman just said to me, if you need some help. And it was just well spaced. I was like, okay, so the win-win for me is I can go shopping, but not in a big department store. I just can't do it. But any other smaller place, I can do it. It's like win-win situation. And that was a good win for me. Really good. Okay, live your magic, live in harmony. That's how I feel when my sub-personalities are all walking with me. It's like, yeah, I'm living in harmony. It's a good feeling. Any conflicts, like have a quick word. That's all you do now. I do. Have a quick word with that sub-personality and everything is fine. Questions?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, can I just mention something, because we've got a few minutes? Yeah. I've worked with people with OCD, ADHD and bipolar, and it works a treat. It works a treat. I haven't worked with anyone else like borderline personality disorder. I would not work with, but any of the other three, if they come to me for whatever reason, you can use this technique on them, and it works very well. Okay, questions?
Well, I thought that was fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm very interested in that list on your bed head. And does it conflict when you go to, do you take that list to the butcher?
Oh, wouldn't want to.
Have you got the meat that please?
Sorry, that was really bad.
We've got,
question.
yeah, okay.
No, I did want to ask about the note on the bed.
Yes.
Just in the early stages when you were trying to keep in touch with your sub-personalities and you'd close your eyes and call them in,
Yeah.
did you call in, I'm just thinking I'm going to close my eyes and ask, and I'm going to end up with like all these spirit guides and stuff, like did anything like that happen?
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
You just thank them very much for their time.
And
Yeah.
ask them to
Yes.
leave and then try and get your sub-personality.
But then there's nothing wrong with working with those as well, because you're finding out what their role is, and it could be the first time you've actually spoken to the spirit world or that particular guide.
Yeah, okay.
So you can use that, because my final in the book, the final thing is I take people through a meditation where we walk up and your guides are there and you actually talk to your guides as well. Yeah.
Okay, because that's all that's been going through my head from the beginning was
Spirit.
I'm going to close my eyes,
Yeah.
and then I'm just going to, I've got what I call the CWA lady.
Okay.
They all talk at the same time.
Oh, yes.
I have to ask them to stand back
Yes.
and be quiet
Yes.
so that I can call in whoever else. And that's what's been going through my head.
Okay.
I'm going to have the CWA lady.
Normally, if you're working with one, you actually ask it, you say, is the list writer there? So you're actually being very direct. Is time management there? Yes. Is judgment there? No. The joker pops into mind, used to pop into mind quite often, but the first few answers is like, that's not the list writer, that's the joker. We're having too much fun. Yeah, it's like, nah. Yeah, so you ask it. That's why when you go into the questions again, you always clarify and make sure you're working with the one that you're working with. But if they're very persistent, it's like give them a voice, listen to them. Yeah, thank you, that was a good question.
The other one?
Yes.
Your study.
Psychosynthesis?
Yes.
Yes, they still do it here in Australia, psychosynthesis.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering if you had studied as a psychologist.
No.
And then you did this.
No, I have no qualifications. No, I do have qualifications. I do. No, it was 12 months out of, I think, a 2-year course of psychosynthesis. But I only wanted to do that first 12 months. That was just full on. Yeah. No, I'm not a psychologist. Yeah. That's okay. Any other questions? Oh, Sue.
What age would be around the minimum that would be appropriate?
Whenever there's voices in your head, you can work with them, even children, because you can. Yeah, it's a bit like magic, tapping. You call it magic tapping with kids. You can work with kids.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. They love it because they're starting to learn a bit about themselves and all those voices in their head.
And it would be setting them up for success.
Absolutely. Especially with some of them, if they need confidence building, you're doing that. Yeah, so any age.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my pleasure.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you find it more effective, Pamela, if you're talking out loud, or is it just as effective if you're in the middle of a supermarket and this dialogue has to happen then and there in your head?
In your head, most of my work has been in my head. Although when I work with clients, I say, can you speak answers so that I can jot them down for my client? But once you're working on yourself, no, you keep it in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, great. We'd like you to.
Just briefly, is there a kind of average amount of sub-personalities that you would expect from someone, or can it be a huge diverse range and some people would have a couple and some people would have hundreds? Yes,
Huge. And then some. Look, my husband, who knows about sub-personalities, he's so together, that guy. Yeah, he'd have to be with me. And he grounds me, he grounds me. He only has one or two, but they're positive ones. So it's the same with, he doesn't have any voices in his head. None. I was talking to a psychiatrist in August, and I just assumed, and she said, hang on, not everyone has voices in their head. I went, what? So I'm fascinated. It's like, if there's no voices, what is going on in people's heads? I don't get it. So I said to my husband, okay, so you don't have voices in your head? He said, no. I said, well, what is there? He just went,
Do you think these personalities are sort of organic and emerge, or do you think you can creatively bring them into being? Or both?
Both. Yes. Because there are so many that come in and out, and some you only need to talk to once and they disappear and you never ever see or hear from them again. It depends on the situation as well. New ones may pop up, new ones that you need for that situation. Yeah. And then you may not hear from them ever again. I can be a teacher and say stop playing around. That's
Turn around and face the front.
yeah.
What about when you've got those two personalities, the one that wants to eat cake
Yep.
and the other one that wants to wear skinny jeans?
I would say go see a hypnotherapist, they can help you.
Oh, thank you. If you know someone, let me know. Anybody else? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you. I've got somebody who'll hypnotise me. That's great.
No, that would be a complex one. That would be a real, that would be a lot of them. When we're looking at weight and food and those sorts of issues, you can still work with your sub-personalities, but that certainly wouldn't just be a one. There'd be quite a few there, a real clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, that word, yes. Yes.
Do we have any questions on the Zoom, Trish?
No, at this stage they're getting answered as we go, so you guys did well.
So for the rest of the weekend, watch me, because when I'm by myself, I'm having a wonderful time. Really having a wonderful time. Oh, I was going to say something that was rude. I'm not sitting on one of those stress balls. I'm just having a really good time. Okay?
So what about the joke?
Yeah. What joke?
You're going to tell us a joke?
Was I? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, I can't remember. I've sort of flicked through, 40 minutes of talking. I can't remember. Yeah, it was appropriate to whatever we were talking about at the time. Can't remember. Sorry.
I think we've got a little bit more time. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your book and how you got to writing it and the process there?
All right. Who the fuck am I? So it's revised. This one is revised. So again, being very honest, 3 or 4 years ago, I had a massive amount of problem with my mental health, and I was ill. I was in and out of hospital, but I need to keep busy and do things. So I thought, what shall I do? I'll write a book. So I wrote this book, and then when I read it through last year, and I took it to Vegas, sold heaps of copies. When I read it, it's like, oh, it was cringeworthy. So what I did earlier this year is I rewrote the book. And it came out of, obviously, being, doing psychosynthesis and subpersonalities. And I thought, I wrote it because it is such an easy formula, and that you don't need a practitioner to use it. You can work on yourself. And there's 6 easy questions once you get to know. So that's why I wrote the book and then revised it and wrote it again, rewrote it. So this one makes sense. It's really, really good. Amazon fucked up with the wording's very small. It's like, okay, but apart from that, yeah, it's a really, really, really good buy. What else can I talk about? Oh.
You could talk about your favourite designer, Vivian.
Oh, Vivian Francine. No, I don't think they want to know that. So I live in Cairns. Anyone been to Cairns? Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And I've tried retiring about 4 times, but I just can't. So I actually don't see a lot of hypno clients. I do intermittent fasting and hypnosis, but they're online. I spend most of my time as a spiritual advisor and tarot reader. I'm also a silk painter, but most of my silks go overseas. I've obviously been with my husband for 40 years. We've got fish, and they're very quiet. I like my fish. They're really, really quiet. They behave themselves. And I've done lots of different things in my life. I was a welder at one point. Yeah, had fun. So any other questions? Personal? No?
I don't have a question per se, but I want to point out something that was really, really obvious just then that some of you may not have picked up on. So I watch a YouTube channel called by Casey Neistat. He's one of the biggest YouTube people in the world. One of his favourite sayings is, "Your good idea is never as good as someone doing it badly."
Oh.
Because Pamela did it badly. And she admitted it was cringeworthy. She did it badly and then came back and did it again. So your good idea is still not as good as someone doing it badly because you did it. So if you're thinking about doing that course, being that trainer, going on that cruise or whatever, do it anyway and do it badly because it can only get better from there. And Pamela proved it right there with the book.
Yeah.
So thank you, Pamela.
Oh, thank you, Trish. That was good. Thank you. If you come up with any questions, then please stop and ask me. I'm here all weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure.